Premiering live from the depths of my turntable, this is one Nilsson, one Schmilsson, and an aerial Pandemonium ballet review. This video is a little bit about the life of Harry Nilsson, an artist most well known from the 70s, yet I feel he withstands time himself. Yet, this mostly is a review and lyrical analysis of the first remix album to exist, Aerial Pandemonium Ballet. You might say it's a bit of half and half, with both facts and opinions, but of course, you need to know a little history before we can enjoy the true beauty of this album. I'm your tour guide for today, so let's get started. Harry Edward Nilsson III was born on June 15th, 1941 in Brooklyn, New York. Now, a very important fact that we need to keep in mind in order to analyze this album to the fullest is that his father abandoned his family when Harry was only 3 years old. So that left Harry's family very poor. And so they moved to LA when Harry was only a teen, so that way they could try and look for better opportunity. So he applied for a job at a bank. And he said on his application that he graduated high school even though he only completed schooling up until the 9th grade. So since computers were beginning to be introduced and this bank was using him, he had an aptitude for computers. So when they found that out, they kept him because they realized, wait a minute, he's a really valuable asset. But he began improving musically with the help of his uncle. So like during the day he would do banking stuff, and then during the night he would, work on music and do that stuff. But his uncle, I think, was a huge part of his life, and especially since he got to spend enough time with him and learn with music and stuff from him, I definitely think that his uncle helped in providing a father figure for Nilsson. This fact I actually found very interesting was during a 1968 press conference, the Beatles were asked what or who their favorite American group was, and they all answered Nilsson. And that's actually really interesting because I am a huge fan of the Beatles, and I often find a lot of artists who I really enjoy, but they have like a tie with the Beatles or something like that. So like John and Harry were like doing album recordings and stuff like that. I think they made an album together, if I'm not mistaken. And but I guess this friendship really meant a lot to Harry because after John Lennon was murdered in 1980, he took a hiatus from making music to campaign for gun control, which sadly, Harry did die in Agora Hills, California on January 15th, 1994, and he was only 52. And he died of a heart attack. Now, as I said, this was the first remix album ever to come on the scene. So a remix album is an album consisting of remixes or re-recorded versions of an artist's earlier released material. So a lot of the songs on this album are not original to the album. One of them is a cover, but all of these are from previous albums that Nilsson did.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the center ring, presenting Nilsson and his Pandemonium Shadow Pole.
Now the first track of the album is literally 9 seconds. It's called Introduction, but this introduction is found on the first track of Pandemonium Shadow Show. And Harry Nilsson likes to do a lot of like play on words and just kind of like muck them up. So this whole album, Aerial Pandemonium Ballet, is a combination of two of the album tracks that he pulls a lot of these tracks from. Or two of the album titles. I feel that he wants to drag everyone to the circus again that he created from Pandemonium Shadow Show, and so he wants to like drag them back to the circus. So here we go in the center ring, we're presenting Nilsson, who's going to take us through this circus, this wild ride.
Well, in 1941, a happy father had a son, and by 19...
Now the second track on this album, which is coincidentally, or maybe not coincidentally, the second track on Pandemonium Shadow Show, which it was first seen on. And a fact that is really, I don't know if it's true or not, but I found it on the internet, and it says that his paternal great-grandfather actually created an act known as Aerial Ballet, which is the name of the other album that songs are drawn into this remix album. So this song is basically, it could be a way of Harry Nilsson coping with his father and him disappearing. And it's so interesting because like this ties into the last stanza, or verse, excuse me, of the song, which is like, now in 1961 a happy father had a son, and by 1964 the father walked right out the door, and in 65 the mom and son were still around, but what will happen to the boy when the circus comes to town? So it's interesting because, you know, and it still says that like in 1945 the mom and son were still around in the first verse as well. But the thing is that I feel like this is a way that maybe his Harry Nilsson coped with his father being absent, and just saying that, oh, he joined the circus like my great-grandfather, and he was, you know, just ran away because he couldn't deal with the responsibility. Like, maybe this was a way of trying to cope it, or maybe just a tongue-in-cheek, oh, this is what happened, you know, to my father. But it's, you know, because in 1941, that's when Harry Nilsson was born. So, but this other stanza that we have right here, he wanted to join the circus and clown and run away because he saw that, and maybe just the little boy in his father wanted to do that. But another interpretation that we could take with this is that his father, his son could actually have joined the circus himself and then repeated what his father did.
Years ago when you were a boy, he was his daddy's pride.
See, that was from Aerial Ballet. Now this whole song, I feel like, just really captures, you know, what Nilsson felt, and maybe the like bit of regret that he has that his father abandoned. Years ago I knew a boy, he was his daddy's pride and joy, and this, I feel like, you know, he's talking about himself, you know, I was his pride and joy. He does this like riff.
He was his daddy's pride and joy, pride and joy. He was such a rainy day.
Just the emotion that he had, it's not a riff, but it's like this note that he holds, it has so much emotion in it, and it just, that's what I love about this song, is that it just has so much emotion, and I really love it for that reason. But the mother's trying to explain to him why this is happening, and that, you know, his father was not a man, it was all just a game, and it's just such a sad thing to think about.
The band and his fans all look the same, and the fans he had.
The next song was also seen on Aerial Ballet, and it was named after the record promoter, which his name is Tony Richland, and this was his favorite track on Aerial Ballet, so pretty interesting fact. So the title of the song has nothing to do with the song itself. And I feel that this song is about fame, and that's kind of lonely at the top, and that it follows a singer who has fans. And now a lyric that stuck out to me was, and the fans all look the same. And I feel that, you know, you could say that it's like, oh, you know, segregated concerts and thinking back to that time, but it could be that. But I also like to think that this will play into the theme of change and how this artist doesn't really like change. But in order to stay relevant with fans and be listenable to a new generation, he must quite literally stay in tune with the changing world around him. But he may not choose to do that because he fears it. I feel that like this artist that he's observing could be a reflection of himself, that he fears the change because maybe it could be stemmed from his father moving and all of that change that's surrounded with that. Or I could be just thinking way too into it. But it's interesting because in the original he doesn't remix his famous song One, which is also seen later into the album, but it ties that, I feel that this whole thing, it ties into the themes of fame and loneliness, and that this could be a tie into the Beatles as well, because these lyrics says, "The time has come," the walrus said, "to speak of other things, like a fallen star who works in a bar where yesterday is king. The fans will stay for an hour or so, but they still remember his fame. The time has come," the walrus said, "to call your fans by name." And now I feel that this artist maybe could be like an artist maybe from like the 40s or the 50s, and then when the Beatles come on the scene with like the I Am the Walrus and with Yesterday, and I know those were like two different periods in time, but that where Yesterday is king, like the Beatles are all what everybody wants now, and so this artist doesn't want to change his sound or doesn't want to stop singing like the classics or whatever because he fears that change.
My old desk isn't picturesque, but it's happy as a desk.
Aerial Ballet as well. And I don't think there's anything too deep about this song. I think he likes to write a little bit sometimes silly songs. Like the song acknowledges that how good these non-human ideals are so comforting because they won't leave him. But like a desk technically will never leave you because you have that companionship that he maybe so yearns for. And like specifically the desk will never let him down, and unlike his father. But I feel that in a lot of ways, Good Old Desk is a silly song written about his desk because he wanted an office to work in because that was what he was used to, and so he requested to work in an office, and so he had to work at a desk because that
Everybody's talking at me. I don't.
Now we have Everybody's Talking, which I've actually seen circulating on Instagram for people using it as audio for their reels and stuff, which I found very fascinating because this is not one of my favorite Harry Nilsson songs. It's very well known. It's one of his more well-known ones just because it was featured in Midnight Cowboy with Dustin Hoffman. And this was also first seen on Aerial Ballet. So, you know, it's a more famous one of his songs, but it's got a very optimistic tone, which I can appreciate. And it's like how he's just going with the flow with life. And it's a bit of a love song too, where it's like, you know, at the end says, I won't let you leave my love behind. It's very peaceful, and I can appreciate that.
I'm going home to take my bath, but I'll be back again. Yeah, I'm leaving here.
Now the next one is another one of my favorite songs on this album, which I really like. Also, I might like the version on Aerial Ballet a little bit better, just because it features more brass and it's very kind of just jazzy and just very elaborate. I really like it. I feel like this is another silly song too, where it's like, you know, it's also got another bit of an optimistic tone too, where I feel like it's also like could be about a one-night stand, or like this guy got really drunk and went to a girlfriend's house and she just let him in because he's like, oh, poor guy.
When I was a little boy, she had a rag doll.
Cover of Ike and Tina Turner's song, their original song, and I don't feel like there's anything too deep to look into here. It's just another love song that I feel that he just kind of threw in there. He changes the lyrics a little bit in the beginning, I think, just because.
Sleep late, my lady friend.
Back to Pandemonium Shadow Show. And I just feel like this is a love song of the night on the town. It's, you know, kind of just like telling her to sleep late, you know, it's okay, we just had a big party. It's chill, you know, love song. Now, we get into the heartbreak, the sadness song, the sad songs through the rest of this album. We had a bit of a break with our mental toll and we had some love songs, but now we gotta go through the path of heartbreak and sadness.
Don't leave me, baby. Things are gonna work out fine.
We kick this off with the song Don't Leave Me, which was actually most recently heard in The Crowded Room. And I'm actually enjoying that Harry Nilsson's songs are now being featured in TV and in Instagram. I'm really happy that he's starting to a bit of resurface and that people are using his music. Anyway, this song is just a bit of a heartbreak song, but I feel touches on the themes of abandonment because it's called Don't Leave Me. And it's just like, you know, he's like, things are gonna work out fine, everything's gonna be okay. And I feel that, you know, The Crowded Room also deals with abandonment issues. And
Day without her.
It's seen on Pandemonium Shadow Show. Another heartbreak song. I feel like this man, or it could be Harry Nilsson, I don't know, just is upset over his wife's absence. And it's another theme of time and its presence and how it can change things. And
One be the land of love and emotion that covered the ocean of sadness that kept them together.
Have Together. And before writing this review, I saw the title and I was like, yay, a happy little love song, because we haven't had one of those in a while. Nope. That idea went to scrap when I realized it goes through the cycle of love and the feeling of it. And together it like starts off with like, love is fresh, love is new, it's great, and then it goes into, you know, now we're in the heat of the passion, it's great, and then it goes in, and then it's all gone, and, you know, we don't have that same love that we used to have. And I think that's like, you know, a genuine fear of everyone that they have is that, like, you know, when you're dating someone or when you're married to someone, you never want that love to fade. But it ends up, you go through cycles sometimes and it just ends up fading for a little bit and you just got to get back on track, so.
One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do.
Now, this next one was first seen on Aerial Ballet, but we did kind of hear a little bit of a remix of it in Mr. Richland's favorite song, so that's pretty fun. But this was one of his most well-known songs besides Everybody's Talking. It's seen in a lot of movies sometimes. I know it was in Lego Batman, which is kind of funny. But it's a very moody song, and it's about being lonely and just like the word no. And one of the bridge in it is, "It's just no good anymore since you went away. Now I spend my time just making rhymes of yesterday." And I feel like this could be the reflection of like his father leaving, and that now he's just a songwriter, and that he's just making rhymes and stuff and reflecting on this. And it could also be like a love, people could interpret it as being a love song, like We've come to the final track, which is only, again, like 5 to 9 seconds. It's very short, but it's just like, it sounds like tap dancing. It could just be like hand clapping, kind of just dancing maybe. But I feel like it's concluding the circus, and that this dancing is seen on various times during Aerial Ballet. Now my overall review of this album is that it's one of my more favorite albums of Harry Nilsson, for sure. Like, I love a lot of his albums, and you know, this is just a really great one to listen to see how like his sound kind of changed, and how he wanted to remix his songs, and how he just kind of decided to shake it up a little bit with just, you know, revisiting some of his past and his roots. And my first thought after listening to this album was that, like, I feel like the outros were cut very short. It's used to kind of like a flow, like a kind of like fade sound, you know? But I feel like these cutting shorts of these tracks and like not letting it fade is maybe to imitate how his father left so suddenly. And I also feel like this album is Nilsson's trauma and reflection of the absence of his father in his life, as I have previously mentioned multiple times. And I think, as I said before, that his uncle helped him be better musically, played a father figure in his life, and that was really important to him. Now, I do recommend this album for anyone who wants to like start listening to Harry Nilsson. Thank you for listening to my review. It was maybe just an overthinking of this album, but I really wanted to analyze it and really wanted to go through it. And thank you for being with me on this journey. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you maybe next time. Goodbye!